Hey there. I just wanted to check in with you and see how you're doing, because we are now in the middle of this class. So who remembers this? Yep, the middle. The part where you actually learn everything and do all the work. And without a doubt, the part of the class where you might feel the most vulnerable on some level. Now, if you're feeling great about the class and your own progress, I am super thrilled, and I'm proud of you. But this video might not be for you. It's more for people who are feeling a little bit stressed out, or maybe even a little bit depressed or anxious. Call it what you will. All I know is that this can be a really tough place to be, and I hope I can help here a little bit. To begin with, I just want to mention that I was a student for a long time in my life, and I know that learning things can actually be pretty stressful. I think for me, and maybe this is personal, but when I feel like I'm not getting something or understanding something that I should, it kind of brings up some pretty intense shame feelings. I like to think of myself as smart, and if I'm not getting something, it makes me feel stupid, and that's really tough in an educational setting. I guess what I'm trying to get at is that however you're feeling, it's totally understandable. This class is hard. Learning After Effects is hard. We try to make it as fun as possible, but it is tough. But honestly, if you're still here watching these videos, then I know you're taking this process seriously. You're still fighting against the Empire in hopes of blowing up that Death Star, and that means a lot to me. The truth is that if you're trying your best with these homework exercises, despite how little time or energy you might actually have on some of these days, then you're doing great, and I am super proud of you. Remember, the heroic act is not blowing up the Death Star per se. For me, the heroic act is knowing that something is really difficult and still doing it. So in this case, if you're still watching these lessons and doing your best with the homework, you're my hero.
Aww.
Thank you for your efforts. I'm really proud of you. Now, I want to share something with you that I find very inspirational. I think it's the perfect thing to bring up right now in the middle of this class. And that is a list of rules for students and teachers developed by an artist named Sister Corita Kent in the 1960s. I love these. Some of you might already know about them because they're pretty famous, all right? And just FYI, I've adapted these slightly to fit your experience here as best as possible. Basically, I'm only going to discuss what I consider the most important 7 out of her 10 rules. So let's go through them one at a time. Rule 1, find a place you trust and then try trusting it for a while. I love this because it's clear to me that there's a big link between trust and being able to effectively learn. Now, I really hope that myself and the rest of the School of Motion team have made this into a safe learning space that you can trust. And if we haven't, please let us know. But even deeper though, I think Sister Kent is saying here that you should find a place of trust within yourself as well. Trust that the process will work and try not to doubt that. Trust yourself to be what you already know you are, a genuine human being fully capable of amazing things. Rule number 2. General duties of a student. Pull everything out of your teacher and pull everything out of your fellow students. Totally true, and I would also add in this case, pull everything out of your TA. And let me just say officially that the TAs in this class, and the School of Motion TAs in general, are awesome. I know many of them personally, and aside from being really good people, I admire them as hardworking professionals who also love to teach and help others. And honestly, that's a kind of a rare combination. So hats off to our TAs, and remember, they are here to help you. So definitely ask them questions, and definitely listen to them when they give you advice. Rule number 3, consider everything an experiment. I love this because I think it takes the pressure off to make everything perfect. Now, I would amend this to say consider everything practice, but that's just me, and we're going to talk about practice in a moment. Rule number 4, nothing is a mistake. There's no win and no fail. There's only make. Now, just to be clear here, Sister Kent is saying that as a student, winning and failing are just not what you should be concerned about. Just keep making your work, keep learning and experimenting, and don't worry about making mistakes. Rule number 5, the only rule is work. If you work, it will lead to something. It's the people who do all of the work all of the time who eventually catch on to things. Now, this one gets me right in my perfectionist little heart. I think this is really true, and also I love that in a list of rules, she has one rule that she says is the only rule. Now, working hard and working a lot is definitely important. I would just also add that it's important to take breaks and not overwork yourself, because it's equally true that the people who do all the work all of the time also can get pretty burnt out. Now, the next rule is kind of the best thing ever. Rule number 6, don't try to create and analyze at the same time. They're different processes. Now, I feel like I should get this tattooed on my hand or something. This one is very important, and it's also super difficult to remember. I tend to think about it like this. When I'm working, I hope to achieve what's known as the flow state. The flow state is when you're simply working without all of the internal meta commentary in your head, sort of working without thinking about working. Because creating and analyzing at the same time is a spiral into uncomfortable self-consciousness, and that's definitely not helpful for the creative process. Okay, so this is the last of her rules I want to go over. Rule number 7, be happy whenever you can manage it. Enjoy yourself. It's lighter than you think. I like that she says be happy whenever you can manage it, because nobody can be happy all the time. Certainly not me. So those are Sister Corita Kent's famous rules. I hope you're feeling a little bit more inspired now. If so, my work here is almost done. But before we go, I do want to talk about practice. I think this is a beautiful word, and it actually has a bunch of different meanings, and I think several of them are applicable to the idea of being a student. For one, if you're a musician or ever studied an instrument or were in a band or whatever, you know what I mean by practice. You get songs and you have to practice them. A lot, generally. And you have to practice your instrument to get better on top of that, to develop your ear and your touch. Nobody starts out by being amazing, and even if they did, they would still have to practice to continue to improve. If you've ever played a sport or on a team, it's pretty much the same thing. You have football practice and then you have football games. Baseball practice and then baseball games. Now, I'm not really into participating in competitive sports myself, but as an adult, I spent many years studying yoga, and I always thought it was notable and beautiful that people describe themselves as having a yoga practice. Because there's no specific final end goal to yoga, like a game or the World Series or whatever. Everyone is always just practicing yoga. And I think that's actually a good way to look at a lot of things, but in particular, it's how I think about my work in motion design. I feel like I'm practicing motion design. I have a motion design practice, if you will, just like a doctor has a medical practice. Also, even after 25 years, I'm still practicing After Effects. Thinking of it as practice definitely takes some of the pressure off. If you feel like you didn't do as good a job as you could have on an assignment or something, it's okay. You were practicing. Go ahead and take that pressure right off of yourself. Now, this is especially helpful if you're a perfectionist like myself. Perfectionism is so dumb and difficult because it's based on a false premise. Nothing is perfect, especially when it comes to subjective things like all of the creative arts, which everyone sees from their own perspective anyway. And that leads me to my last point, which is about effort. It's equally important in my mind when I try to work on a project to give it my all, to try as hard as I can, but also finish the project and move on. The most important thing is to finish and move on to the next project on some level. Because as Sister Kent said, the only rule is work. If you work, it will lead to something. So yeah, think about practice, not perfection. I guarantee that will serve you better, both in this class and in your career. All right, so that's my little spiel for today. I hope something I said in here was helpful, even if just a little bit. See you soon, and remember, you are crushing this, I promise.